we're gonna replay this. I forgot to look at the screen for a while and realized it was not showing. So we are going to replay this. So yeah, what a dumbass I was. Anyway, playing non-explicit sexual themes as well as topics that may be upsetting to players, including toxic and abusive relationships, blood, death, and elements of horror. So please take care and visit the official game page for detailed content warning list. Not all branches are available in this demo. Choices with a locked symbol cannot be selected. Are you prepared? Yes, I am. Start! So everything's good. La da 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 da. Can you hear me? We're making sure everything's good. La da 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 da. Okay. Okay. I walk through the ashen woods alone. Frozen earth crunches, crack beneath my feet. Fat, blurry snowflakes fly by, aglow with the moon's bright light. I can never truly be lost, not on a night like this. When she shines, so round and full, gazing down from the winter sky above. Still, I best look like I am. I meander through the ashen trails between the birches, silver girth stripped with the dark, around the trunks of the pine and the breach of the skies, bow buried in the snow. I walk between, hold on, let me make sure. Okay, there it is, yay! Making sure it's good. I walk between shadow, slip through the pool of light and dark, as if I had somewhere to be, but no knowledge of what path might take me to it. All the while, I wrap myself in a cape of red wool, pulling its rough spun fabric and a fine needlework tight around my shoulders. My hands, I rest inside thick sheepskin gloves. Even with the snow and the mountains air in my face, the thrill of the hunt keeps the bite of cold at bay. My heart beats with an unfamiliar feeling, pounding, a jittering rhythm. I shiver in excitement. I hope whatever's out there mistakes it for fear. I sink my hands deep into the pockets of my skirt, running the gloved fingers along the edges of the deadly sharpened point I carry. In a strange way, it feels more totem than a weapon. I suppose I seek no ordinary prey. I almost smile like the quarry. How strange to think that I too might hide my fangs. And so I wander, trembling like a newborn lamb. I wonder how the beast might appear. Would it call out to me in a voice nectar sweet, promising shelter? Would it lure me into the mountain's lair, whispering honey-eyed words as it leads me to a place where no screams can echo? would it stalk me patiently, waiting for the moment I collapse, cold, exhausted, in the snow. As I wander and wonder, I find myself growing impatient. The cause of my shaking turns from thrill to frost. When will it appear? Would it appear? Am I not the image of a perfect prey? I'm running out of time. No vexation or a luxury I can indulge in. I cannot rush this. I need my mind clear. Surely there's some way of drawing its attention to me until it can no longer look away. I feel my pocket for the sharp knife I'd use to whittle my weapon to its deadly point. What simpler way to entice the beast than an iron freshly drawn? But do I need to go far? Perhaps that's not flesh it is hungry for. Perhaps I simply need to call to it. Draw blood. Traveling, everyone! Doing the same thing as I did before. I draw the sharp knife from its sheath, roll up my sleeve. Without hesitation, I press the blade against my back of my forearm, watching it as thin line of crimson blossom against my flesh. The pain that comes in a sensation I long forgotten. I almost cry out in surprise. Hastily, I take a long ribbon from my hair, wrap it tightly around the fresh wound. Red against red, it entwines around my arm like a bark around a birch trunk, like the skin of an apple, peeled away with the knife. A sudden sound from the distance, shaking me from my thoughts, I turn. No longer do I hear the wind through the trees, the hooting owl, or the scurrying of a squirrel. It is as if the world has gone completely silent and still, save a pair of carefully approaching footsteps. It is seconds longer before I see it, a pinprick of light in the distance, a blur of white like the snow swirling around me. Gradually, it comes closer, blinking, flickering bright. Well, all the while I stay still, so still like my heart forgotten its beat. Closer it draws, closer still, until I finally make out its face, framed in white, locked eyes with with him. I can't move away or turn away. I can't even breathe. That eye stares back at me with so deep of green. Are you lost? He says, and like a spell broken, I shake out of my daze. The wind and the sound of the night roaring in my ears. His voice cuts through it all, clear as bell. Are you hurt? The figure wears the skin of a man, a skin so impossibly fair it reminds me of the broken statue of an angel I once saw in a ruined castle. The surface of its marble pallor cold as ice when I brushed it with my fingertips. How flawlessly smooth, how otherworldly. That lonely thing left behind in a place of broken granite and brittle stone. I wonder if it being before me is cold to the touch. He dresses from head to toe in white, shrouded in white, from his fine wool coat to his fur-trimmed cape and the soft leather glove. Even his hair, a cascade of gentle curls that frame his face, shine silver of radiant halo lit from the glow of the lantern he carries in his hand. The other extends to me. Are you lost? He asked again. I won't hurt you. I see to you to safety, I promise. The sound of his voice makes all the worry in the world melt away. It's so musical, so warm and calming, like liquid honey. It takes all my will not to take his hand and offer all at once. Who are you? Who are you? I asked. Simply a traveler passing through, he says, with the faintest hint of a smile. Soft, gentle, unthreatening. If I were naive, I would have taken his answer without question at all. But I am not. Here, alone in this wood at night. I could ask the same for you, demoiselle. Why ever did you wander here? I was searching for something. Whatever it might be, you come far. The nearest village is hours away. Have you a place to shelter from the night? No, I say as I quiver, as I feel my voice within the trembling of a lost, vulnerable thing. Lead me away. You have nothing to fear and everything to gain. Please come with me. I am sojourning not far from here. You can share my fire and stay the night in safety. I suppose I can't refuse such a kind offer. I reply, letting relief wash over my words. Show me your true face. Show me your fangs. Then please, good sir, lead the way. Ooh. With a free hand he offers me his arm. I hesitate. Such closeness would avail me to my weapon, but just as easily Pierre put me at his mercy. How quickly could he strike back? With what strength he could stop me if I failed? Take his arm. I reach for his outstretched hand. My fingers linger on his glove once, for only a moment, before he links his arms to mine, sweeping his cloak around the both of us in one elegant motion. Okay. I cannot help but gasp. Forgive me if I startled you. I thought you'd be warmer this way. I'm fine, I stammered, digging my other arms deep into my pocket, gripping my weapon tight. Ominous. His wool cloak and warm fur around my shoulders do keep away the cold, but I feel no warmth from him, no blush across his pallid cheeks, not one breath from his lips, fogging in the night sky or air. He smells of incense and pine, and faintly the metallic tang of iron. I wonder if I made a mistake. My heart hammers as I walk beside him, its beat unfamiliar drumming in my chest. Thankfully, he slows his stride to match mine. I take a deep breath and keep myself steady, staying alert as he leads me onwards through the trees. It does not seem like he will strike me here. I must be patient. I will wait. Might I ask you your name? He says as we walked some steps from the clearing. I have worn names like they were ribbons in my hair, dozens of names, all colors and shapes. To give one away now, it would be a frivolous thing. But names, even false ones, create familiarity, bonds. Would it be wiser to keep my cards closed, heart closed? You may. You may, of course. I'm gonna put this Sky. My name is Sky. Sky, he repeats, savoring each syllable. That's lovely. He sounds like he means it, like there's a heart that still beats beneath his borrowed skin, that flutters at the sight of goodness and beauty, that thrums at the sound of a maiden's name. And yours? I asked. Gabriel, he smiles. Like the old angels, I murmur. If I were naive, I would wonder if he's old enough to remember the angels from the days long before the mist descended, before any gods and their icons who watch from above fled as the undead and sated plunged the earth into pestle and death and rot. I would wonder, had he ever plucked an apple from the branches of Elysium, tasted sweet flesh, but I know better. My parents were fond of the old hills, both of them for different reasons, he says with a wistful smile. What reasons? My father valued the strength of divinity. My mother valued their tales of virtue. A name can be a gift, and I treasure mine, and I treasure their memory. You must miss them. I do, he replies softly. I wait, but he does not continue. It's not enough. I need more. Show me what lies beneath your skin. Show me the beast that you are. Now that you're asking something of me, I say, I believe it's only fair I ask you a question in return. Very well, then, ask away. Ask about his clothes. Your clothes, they're so beautiful. I've never seen anything like them. Thank you, they were made by someone very dear to me. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear it. I see, but why wear nothing but white in the snow? I often come to the mountains to hunt. My cloak protects against the cold, of course. I suppose it lets me go unseen by your victims. But sir, your clothes are too fine for a mere huntsman. You look fit, well not of a prince, then a knight of the Queen's Guard, at least. The Queen. There's no queen that rules these lands, unless you speak of the Queen, the Mist Queen. The Mist Queen, a figure shrouded in the fog, in a mystery like her name, whispered around the campfire, in the village squares, in the stubborn town, in the drunken ones, in awe and reverence. but most often in fear. I've seen their nights before, marching in the wild, their pyres burned on the hillside for days. Do you believe that she lived since the dawn of time? That she bathed in the blood of men to keep her beauty? Not for a moment. I laugh. You speak as if you know her. Would you be afraid if I did? If I was a servant of the Queen? No. I would call you a spinner of tall tales, good sir. I can secretly believe that she's an immortal, after all. The Mist Queen and her Ashen Prince, they sound like more fairy tales than living unliving people. After all, who can remember a time before a mist fell? Who can tell whether the undying still walks this earth? Yet if you were only a servant, a merely pawn, I would think her unfit to be queen of anything, at all how poor her senses of virtue is. You believe me to be virtuous? Well, here you are, helping a poor lost damsel in the snow. I laughed. It is only human to help others in need. I shake my head. Some would disagree. Some would seek an advantage over others. That is human nature, my hunter. In any case, there's something gentle about you. I cannot think to place you amongst our score of blood-soaked nights. He looked at me for a long time. I wonder if I said too much. You're a strange girl, a strange, bold girl. A girl? I'm well past 20 summers. I do not think to ask how many gentle hunters. I shall not. Have you a family then? I did, though. I was a stranger to them at first. They welcomed me into their home and became just like family to me. I loved them very much. But those days are gone now. He gives me a look of sympathy. I'm so sorry. I'm like you. I once had a wife and son, but the plague took them from me. I'm so sorry for your loss. I consider it what to say next. I can't remember what I did. I think I did pass because this family would be really, difficult. Have you always been a hunter? No, in fact. For much of my life, I hated the thought of harming anything, be it man or animal. My tale is truly a dull one, demoiselle. We have nothing but time. I wait for him to continue as we walk. My father was a knight at arms, but he died without land or fortune. I was very young, and so my mother was left to raise me alone in a humble countryside town. I knew from an early age I did not want to live a marital life like my father, so I apprenticed to a healer, then studied medicine as a young man. Eventually, I returned to the small town, met and married a shepherdess. with the loveliest smile in the world, and I spent my days treating cough and fevers, making poultices into sun, mending wounds, until the plague I finished. He is silent for a moment. It was horrible, cruel to call it sickness, which we so called the ocean a merely pool. I did not spare any, and it did not spare any of its victims. It turned healthy, smiling folks into dying husks within days. I tried to save them. You did it. You did all you could. I can't imagine how awful it must have been. I lost myself for a time, and after that I found I could not return to the healing arts. I could not mend another bone, touch another skin without feeling the rot between my fingertips. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. Even the wind is silent as we walk. The crunching of our footsteps only sound in the night. It is a relief when he turns the conversation away. I've spoken enough of unpleasant matters. Tell me something about you. What do you enjoy? I enjoy singing. I love songs. When I sing, I never feel alone. I agree. If any God still lived, I thank them for blessing us with music. He looks like he's about to speak, but hesitates. Are you often lonely? I'm quite used to it. Solitude is like an old friend to me now. Sometimes I wonder, is it better to be alone or to spend your life with someone that you cannot give your heart to? Both of those sound lonely. A wise man would seek a third route, but what if you had no other option? What if fate had tied you together like roots intertwined? I would learn to grow beside them. I cannot imagine myself running away in solitude forever. I would think it just as lonely for the other person. Would you abandon them, leave them to their burden, not even try to overcome the fate you share? Forgive me, I burden us with the heavy topics again. But I thank you for your insight. Of course, gentle hunter. I searched my mind for another question, another distraction, when suddenly a howl, long and low, cuts through the night. Wolves. Stay calm, he says in a hushed tone, folding his cloak around me as I clutch his arms. I did not realize I gripped him so tightly. I am calm. I should be calm. But the fear that I feel isn't mine. It runs beneath my skin like a rapid course river. It twists inside the cage of my chest. I will pull to slow. I will my pulse to slow, but it does not. My mind cannot quell on the instinct of a living heart. The howls grow louder, closer. I can feel them ringing in my ear. Your scent is too strong, I hear him murmur. He searches through his coat for something, a small pouch, then pours its contents over the lantern. The flame burns brighter as a thick, earthly scent fills the air. It smells of ash and smoke, iron and dust. This way, he says, leading me by the arm. We come to a large pine, the ancient trunk at least 3 grown men wide. With a firm but not gentle motion, he presses me against its trunk, sweeping his cloak around us. I feel rough bark on my back. Through the wool of my cape, feels his arms around my shoulder, holding me tight. It takes all my will not to struggle, not to scream. It's all right, he says, melodiously soothing, a shepherd calling to a lamb. This will hide your scent. Listen to my voice. Hold on just a little longer. This close, I could hear his heartbeat beneath his chest. If only he had one. I could burn beneath his arm. If only they were not so cold, cold to the bone. Okay, so this is like me before I realized it was not showing. We stand there for what feels like an eternity before the howls grow silent and the only voice left on the wind is the whispers of the trees. I break free of him as soon as he lets me go, shaking. Too close, not yet, not here. Forgive me, it's not far ahead. Now, can you walk the rest of the way? I'm fine, I say, steadying myself, fighting the quiver in my voice. Onwards I follow as he leads me through the trees. The cottage comes into view as we turn the bend, almost as conjured from the mist itself. It is a small, quaint, and lonely strange thing to see, placed there like it was plucked from a fairy tale. Its wooden walls are aged but sturdy, its sloping roof coated with fresh snow. It should be the home of a living, breathless woodsman, not a creature of the night. I had never guessed you would hide yourself in a place like this. It is beautiful, I say. It is the only place in the world I truly feel safe. Its heavy doors creaks open as he leads me inside. The cottage is small, with a short square window and the low walls, but appears well kept, a solitary home. String of dried herbs and a fruit mint, horsetail, apple hangs from the ceiling. A table and a stool sits in the center, stacked with clay pots and metal bowls. A stone hearth covers one wall. A narrow bed lined with fur sits against the other. A bookshelf filled with dozens or so well-worn tomes stand proudly in a corner, even if it teeters behind jars of more herbs and flowers. The scent of incense, sweet and heady, fills my nose as he lights the kindling in the hearth. The ember casts his skin aglow. His silver curls and pallid features paint softly in the warm light. He unfastens his long snow-white cloak and tosses it to the stool. Carefully and slowly, I slip my hands free from the my sheepskin gloves. I feel his gaze, his green eyes watching me as I unravel my shawl from my pale throat. My fingers still numb from the cold fumble with the clasp of my cape. May I? He asked, stepping towards me. I nodded, shaking. His hand, even gloved, are deaf, swing a surgeon's hand. They free my shoulder of a deep red wool, set the fabric aside on the narrow bed. His gloved hand lingers near my collar. I do not move an inch. I sacredly breathe. Show me your true self. Show me what you are. He brushes my cheek, a whisper of a touch, like he's afraid to hold me, like I'm a statue that could crumble away beneath his fingers. May I? He asked again, barely audible. Yes, I whisper back. He brushes a lock of my dark hair behind my ears, then slowly brings his lips to my skin. They are so soft. His touch is like snow that lands on my face, carried by the winter wind, cold but light, feather light onto my skin, gentle, far too gentle. I don't want this delicate tender from him. I am not a fragile thing. Look on Mr. Saga! I fold my hands around his neck, feeling the downy softness of his hair as I slip my fingers through its ashen strands. He wraps me in his arms, holds me tight, kisses my hair, trails his lips down to my neck. I shiver, I tremble against him as his gloved hand runs through my trachea, down my spine, feeling for the lace of my bodice. And it's going to show like some stuff, but it's not going to show any major thing. He pushes me gently onto the fur, turns me onto my stomach as he parts my hair. Found you, my queen. I yelp as he pulled my hair sharply back from my head, tears bead in my eyes as his hand presses against my skull. He holds me still as I thrash beneath him, traces of his fingers tips that marks on my skin. I've forgotten I lay at the base of my neck, the crooked crescent moon that I carved into my flesh with the sharp iron knife. Might I humbly ask, as your loyal consort, he whispers softly into my ears. The fire crackles and roars, casting flickering shadows around us. I feel nothing but ice runs through my veins. There's no hunger in his voice, no warmth, no desire. Only white, cold fury. Did you think you could fool me, Celine? Who? I don't know what you mean. Let go of me. Give this up, Celine. I know you far too long for a new skin to deceive me. Why are you here? What game are you playing? I swallow and I go still, trying in vain to slow my racing heart. Deadening my voice, I say, let go of me, my gentle hunter. I can hardly run from you here, can I? I feel him hesitate for a breath, a moment that feels like a century before he loosens his hold on my trusses, lifts his weight from the bed, then stands. The relief I feel is short-lived. I curse myself that I shiver still at the memory, the whisper of his touch, that I lost my own senses. Forgot for a moment who I was in this body, that I'm mistaking his tenderness for anything other than the luring of his prey. I shift upright onto the bed. I don't trust my legs, not to buckle underneath their own weight. He stands a few feet from me, a gloved hand over his pale lips, as a sigh escapes from them. Yet he does not need to breathe. How dramatic. Does he look at me? Does looking at me, even for a borrowed form, disgust you so? Would you care to enlighten me now, my queen? He asks, folding his arm. I take another deep breath. I could ask the same for you. I could ask the same of you, my hunter. Why don't you tell me, dear, why you're here alone in the mountains, away from my castle, inviting pretty young things to your bed? I did not expect him to flinch at my words. The anger and the pain flashed through his face almost makes me regret them. You hardly count as a maiden, sweetheart, he says sharply. And when did you have any right to criticize me? I never said a word about the score of the bloody hearts you left in your wake. That is not what this is about. Then what is it about? Did you follow me? Did you think you could have your way with me if you stitched yourself a pretty new face? I did no such thing. I know your victims have to die before you sow into them. Did you murder an innocent girl for this petty plan? The final line makes my borrowed blood boil beneath my skin. How dare you, Gabriel? Have I ever been callous and unmerciful? Have I ever treated humans like my playthings? That girl was dead when I found her. He laughed, its short, dry, hollowed sounds like the winter winds knocking against the wall. Oh shit, you haven't changed at all. A plaything, is that not how you treat her now? Wearing a corpse like a summer gown? I couldn't try to remain calm, try to calm the iron that pounds through my veins, the anger that coursed with it, but I cannot. To have a heart and still is to have thought and feelings ring through every beat. I let my long buried rage, my pain bleed through every vein in my being. Aren't you curious how she died, my loyal consort? I asked, mirroring his bitter, mocking tone. Why should I be? She was killed, I seethed. by a beast wearing the skin of a man, one of our kind. His expression freezes. And she was not the first. Countless maidens have gone missing from the mountains, turning up dead, drained, and cold, colder than your eyes are now. And now, who should I find here but you? You think I did this? You think I killed them? Have you lost your mind? Why would you hide it yourself? Why would you hide yourself in the wilderness? Why would you disappear for months? Why wouldn't you tell me where you'd gone? He goes quiet again, staring at me with the deathly gaze. His next words are nearly a whisper. If words had weight, his would be heavier than stone. How dare you, Selena? How long have you known me? How many centuries have I followed you loyally? I never forced you to serve me. I did not beg you to follow me. I've always gave you a choice. You didn't give me a choice when you turned me into this. He hisses, motioning to himself as he parted his hair from his face with a violent gesture. I look away. I cannot stare back in those eyes. He's right. After all this time, you still despise me. I don't despise you. I despise myself for believing that you trusted me. I do not reply. I have my knees still shaking, cursing my weakness, cursing the blood, flesh beneath my skin, warm and flowing, and despicably human. What was I thinking? I thought I had myself prepared well. I am the Mist Queen, the woman who walked the earth for millennium, wearing many faces at the moon. It should be child's play to appear to him. An innocent maiden tests his loyalty, his intention, discern his innocence, and her his guilt. And then, should I have found him fallen from grace, then I would fulfill the promise I make to each and every one of my faithful vessels, should ever their hunger outweigh their humanity. Yet with him, could I fulfill the oath I made so long ago, when I brought him back from death, ash cold in my arms, even knowing he could now be a monster, changed from loyal knight I knew when I looked at him now. I could not see anything but the face of a kind young doctor I met in that sleepy town by the woods, the face of a man I loved lifetimes ago. Perhaps the Mist Queen could steal her undead heart, cast aside her feeling, but foolishly I had forgotten one thing when I donned the skin. Flesh weighs down the spirit. Memory housed in the foreign mind may well be half-remembered dreams. I do not feel like a monarch, a queen, because at this moment I am not. Now I am a girl of barely 20 summers, trapped with a man glaring death at her, though his face of is of an angel, his voice honey sweet haunts her dreams. Just being in his perspective fills her me with nothing but longing. How could I not hunger so desperately for his touch? How could I not wonder at the thoughts behind the mask of his eyes? If there's still a place for me inside his unbeating heart. My heart beats, thumps so loudly in my ears as we watched each other in silence. Finally, he takes his long cloak from the stool, fastens it around his shoulder, and moves towards the door, cracking it open as night air creeps its tendril inside the cabin. Where are you going? I shift turn weakly to stand up, to see if you have said is true. Liar, I know when you avoid my gaze, when you speak, you cannot bear to be near me. You're leaving now? I'll return. He pauses by the doorframe, silhouette against the snow, and inhaled sharply. Stay put. There's still much I would ask you once you cooled your head. Wait! He slams the door shut with a loud rattle. I don't hear his footsteps disappear into the cold, masked by the winter wind. Once I cooled my head, with you with your bitter sighs, Gabriel, you need as much as I do to calm yourself. I take a breath and another, trying to push through the thoughts of my mind. I fight the tears threatening to spill from this helpless girl's eyes, my eyes. I grit my teeth and finally pull myself up tight. My legs wobble, but are steady enough to walk around the cramped cabin. It is easier to breathe without him near me, easier to think. I look at my surroundings. The fire still burns, offering freshest warmth. Okay, still here. Outside the short square window, the pines and the birches blow in the wind. The night sky still swirls with snow. I think of the wolves, of the yellow eyes and howls filling the shadows. I will not get far if I try to leave. Perhaps I could find something here. Perhaps there was evidence in this place that he safeguarded so well of his guilt. I had yet to find my proof. After all, I would not hurt him without it. I could not. I could know that in my heart now. Yet. My deceptions had already failed. So much for this lovely skin. Am I merely fooling myself now? Was it time to abandon this body? Was it worth the risk to brave the night and its danger to retrieve my old skin? Would I get another chance if I simply stayed put and waited? Search for a room. I decided to start looking around the room. It is a picture of a warm, solitary home, if cramped and unkept. Did he lure any victims here? Did any proof remain of lives taken and the iron drained? The pain flashed through his eyes was real. I know him that well, at least. I know his every look, the shape of his mouth, the tilt of his head, how unwavering gaze burned in my dreams. But what was the cause of the anguish, anger, and guilt? If my gentle wolf is not a killer, then what secrets does he keep? I sifted a pile of garment and fur strewn around his clothing, worn and mended over the years. With his familiar crooked stitching, I tossed them aside indifferently. My hunter had dexterous hand, even though his thick white gloves. But how he'd shake whenever he held a needle. I scoffed once when I saw how he struggled. Why should fabric trouble him when he once sutured flesh and sinew? He did not look at me nor speak to me for days. Some pieces are from the recent decades, clean and neatly folded for once. I recognize each garment. Hello, this is Snow White Ashes. Snow White Ashes. You can find it on Itch.io. I recognize each garment, cut and strewn by my hand. A dark waistcoat I stitch with a pattern of overlapping feathers. A laced shirt I embroidered with tiny bell-shaped flowers and a sickle like leaves. Got it. How I nearly tore the skin off his back when he said he lost it. You're welcome. It almost feels as the fabric in my hand is not clothing, but costume. A costume for a pretend prince in the awful play written of my own life. But that is not untrue. Our second marriage was more false than the first. I think of his cold kisses on the back of my hand, my hair whenever he parted from me for distant land, whenever eyes were upon us. How well he played the part of a perfect, loving consort. How skillfully he hid his distaste for me. How adept he was at keeping his secrets away. What secrets are you hiding, Gabriel? I sighed. There's nothing in the pile of clothing to suggest they belong to anyone but him. But just as I'm about to set them aside, I noticed something peeking from beneath a moth-eaten coat. Gingerly, I fished it out. It appears to be a hard leather case. The straps that holds it close are already loose. Cautiously, I pry it open. Inside it is an instrument, a wooden lyre carved with the pattern of a graceful songbird. It is no master craftsman's work, but it's clearly made with a patient hand. Its surface is cleaned and polished, a plucked string. They are still tuned. I cannot stop the bitter feeling that swells in my throat as I hold this imperfect but beautiful thing in my hand. I don't remember the last time he so much as hummed a tune beneath his breath. He never sang for me, not when I begged. I thought he had given up his music, buried his songs along with his past. It hurts now to know that it wasn't the truth at all, that it was only me he would not sing for. Who then? Who do you sing in the wilderness alone. Who gets to hear your precious songs? I imagine, just for a moment, flinging the instrument into the fire and watching the precious wooden birds carved on its surface, blackened and charred in the hearth. A desire that grows the more I look at it. Leave it be, it's gonna cause you trouble. I stop that impulse before I do something I should regret. I look at the instrument and imagine him carving it painstakingly with his careful gloved hands, staining the wood, stretching taut the strings. I imagine him tentatively plucking the notes, drawing the song from the carved bird's beak. I remember the other things I've broken and burned in front of him. On nights when I fed, the memories were too much for my slow-beating heart to contain. Objects can always be replaced, I would say, more to console myself than him. Only once did I go too far. Only once did I take away something that I could never be replaced. Though the lyre could be carved again, though a lyre could be carved again, though it could feel satisfying to ruin it now, I know it would only lead more regrets soon after. I carefully shut the case, place it back beneath the pile of his clothes. I sit with my head against my knees for a long while, trying not to think, remember, or feel. Finally, I turn and glance at the shelf filled with herb jars and piled tomes with a deep fatigue. Shaking off my weariness, I reach for a volume from the shelf. Its spines crack as I open it. The pages are filled with the scrolling handwriting, notes and paragraphs, fading ink, nearly swallowing my red sketches of plants and herbs. You were never one for keeping idle, were you? I set the books aside, sink down to the floor, bury my head in my arms, lean back against the bed. It is the living blood addling my senses, I think, but I cannot bear how much his presence filled this place. I can imagine him bent over the teetering table, jolting something down with his perfect, elegant gloved hands. Laying his head on the pillow, listening to the mountain wind, eyes blinking closed, sleeping off the iron and bib from the spirits nowhere. Dreaming of something? I can only guess. For how many times have I heard him cry out in his sleep? It feels like I am the intruder here. It feels like this place itself is a piece of him I was never welcome to see. I continue my search without enthusiasm, finding no sign of any other inhabitants, willing or otherwise. It seems like no other soul had visited here, or that it cleaned after himself well. I stand up only to collapse back onto the bed. The hours in the woods, the walk through the cold, The heated words all have exhausted this weak and familiar body. I need a moment's rest before I resume my search. I curse the iron, warm and flowing, running through my veins. The fire still burns, and the heat, the fur are so soft, I only close my eyes for a moment. I stand in the long, empty hallways. Darkness is around me, blacker than the night without the moon. A polished mirror stands in a gilded frame. I step towards it, my footfall making no sound. My face stares back at me, ashen and pale, framed by the dull dark hair, like a dim moon on its foggy night. My eyes are slate cold, gray and lifeless. I close them, but when I open them again, she is gone. A new face stares back at me. A young woman with glossy black locks, bright red lips, and eyes that twinkle like jewels. Like what you see, my queen. Want to rip it off and wear it yourself? She asked, mouthing twisted in a wicked smile. I step back from the mirror. Her voice still rings, growing louder. Do you remember my name, Selena? She asked. Do you remember the name of the corpse you stole from her grieving parents? Yeah, I stammered. I had no choice. The girl in the mirror twists and morphs, screaming, laughing, flesh shifting and turning until her skin rests. Finally, in a shape far too familiar. Do you remember my name, Celine? Do you remember the name you borrowed when you stole my skin, wore my flesh, played house with my corpse? Of course I remember. Your name was, like I said, Nora. Nora. What was his name? Endemol, the eternal dreamer. It fits him. He laughed, gently petting the sleeping lamb. Autumn, 336 years ago. I was lucky, beyond lucky, when I found this body. This poor woman, of course, was not. She slipped and broken her neck, falling from a muddy trail in the hills. A foolish risk to take, all for a helpless lamb. I could have drained her body dry. And no, I was tempted. I was ravenous that day when I found her, full to bursting with iron. But I tempered my hunger. I stitched her back up very carefully until she looked good as new, like she'd never so much taken a tumble. Well, save the present moved, carved beneath the crooked of her collar like an old faded scar. Hungrier than ever, In my brand new skin, I devoured the lamb. Then I walked to the hills, through the wooden, to her now my home. With flocks all to myself, I would not grow hungry for some time. She was an eccentric one, to say at least. This girl, solitary and aloof, she kept to herself, with only her prized sheep as company. The townsfolk whispered unkind things about her. She showed them little interest in return. Who would notice if her mind and heart had turned? Her animals did at first, but they learned quickly to obey their new master. I had roamed for a very, very long time. Now suddenly to spend my days in a quaint countryside town, tending my fluffy, fat white sheep as the days and seasons passed me by. Such idleness, like Arcadia, pure, wonderful, helicon calm. My new form wasn't terrible to look at all, at either. It was strange to see her face stare back at me in the creek's surface, her large and dark eyes and round, freckled cheeks. But her hair was lovely, bright flame, red flame, like the fleeting leaves of autumn before they wither and cover the ground in muddy dying brown. Spring and autumn, I'd always loved the transitionary season, cool but bright and unkind like my kind fleeting. Winter, then spring, then summer had passed when he arrived. The greens had just begun to turn gold, copper, and ruby. The nights bled longer into the days, sunrise streaking through the sky like open wounds, like many creatures that stalked through the waxing cold. I was hungry for human blood. I thought he was a traveler. I'd never seen his face before. I would remember it if it had. Okay. His steps were so light I barely heard him down throughout the forest trail, but I could hear his voice clear as bell, humming a small song to himself. I listened and I watched him through the trees. He wore plain clothes, mended and remended with clumsy stitches. He was tall. His strides were long. His hair was long. His hair too was long. And fell loosely behind his back, its silver string framing his brow. How it shone in the evening sun, whiter than the fleece of lamb. I waited as he drew near, and then I screamed. I didn't expect to slip, genuinely hurt myself. I didn't expect to need his help. It was your fault for distracting me, I say more to myself than to him. I'd kick you if it wasn't for this bloody sprain. I can't advise that, Estelle. You'll hurt yourself again. He stopped as I leaned against him and muttered something unintelligible. Do you need rest? He asked softly, voice tingling with concern. You only met me. Why do you care? Carry me back. I cannot walk anymore. I didn't expect him to literally sweep me off my feet. I was joking. This is fine, he says, as lightly as my body apparently weighs. You're like a feather. Aww. Just hurry back before it gets too dark. It'll be alright. The moon is full tonight, you see. The trees in the path ahead clear their branches from the skies. As he walks, I look up to see her full, bright face shine down on me. So she is, I murmured. The lamb is much more weary than I am, forced to walk the long trail on its own legs, falls fast asleep as its mother's side. What is his name? The stranger, no longer a stranger, asked. Who? This little one, whom you went through so much trouble for, he replies, motioning to the slumbering lamb. I look up to the sky, at the moon, at her stars, and say the first thing that comes to mind. Endymion, the eternal dreamer. It fits him. He laughs gently, petting its soft fleece. There's something beautiful about the sound of his laughter as it leaves its lips. It reminds me of the notes of a lyre, loving tune of a song I once heard in time, in place far, far from these sleepy woods. Perhaps it's the blood that flows within me, the fatigue of this human frame. Night was never the domain of the living that plays with my senses. It feels for a moment like I'm standing a deep and pleasant dream. The wind gently caresses the strand of his long hair, silver as the moon above us. He turns to me and look of embarrassment. How silly of me. I asked for this young lad's name before yours, Demastel. My name is Gabriel, he says warmly. And you are? The days grew colder, darker, autumn bleeding into winter. The old year breathed its last. A new one sprung from its ashes as the night grew short. My body did not change. The world around me did. The days grew warmer as the earth bloomed into spring, then finally summer. Like the seasons, my aloofness at its presence gradually turned to acceptance. And then, before I knew it, fondness. Soon after, he was in my thoughts every night. Instead of nightmares, the century of memories that torment me in my sleep, I saw his face smiling. I heard his voice, clear and lilting, soothing me with a gentle song. He's always smiled at me, even when I dare past him, stone-faced ignorance and disinterest. The moon's out on Halloween. Happy Halloween, guys! But now when I smile back, the way his eyes would shine and brightly his entire face, I felt that of all the people in the world, I was the only one you looked at that way. The day would come when you knelt before me on one knee. I can't marry you, I tell him, stealing my voice. I turn my back so he cannot see my face. Why won't you tell me why? He asks quietly, with tenderness, without hurt. because this body will wither soon when the blood of my flock runs dry or the villagers find out what I am. Because at because to be at your side heightens that risk of 100-fold. Because I am not amongst the living, do my cheeks grow red and my heart flutters against my will when I look at you. When I hear you speak these words, they make me forget what I am. Make me wish for what I never desire. I can't give you children, I know, but I am not a lord or prince. I don't need you to bear my flesh and blood. Besides, I know nothing can replace the lambs as your little ones. I wish I could tell you I tend to them so tenderly because they are my lifeblood. I hardly have a means to keep a hearth and home. You see the way I live. But you can stitch and sew like no one I've ever seen, and I'm half decent cook, at least. If only you weren't so sweet. I still cannot. Do you dislike me? No, spirits, if you don't feel the same for me, then I'll leave your sight at once and forever. You fool. I love you more than you could ever imagine. I love you more than the moon loves her fiery stars, more than anything, that everything that I've held dear in the longest centuries. I've walked through the mist and earth. I want so much to hold you and never let you go. Then don't torture me so. Please say yes. Please make me the happiest man in this world. And then it's gonna get like some nudity. If I were only myself, my true self, could I have refused you? But I was not. At that moment I wore and was a foolish young woman who loved you. Aww. It'll get some nudity, but not really showing anything. There was a guilt in the back of my mind and far corners of my heart in the days that followed. Guilt, a foolish and human emotion. But I was so happy I could bury it beneath the floods of joy that flowed through me and poured from my heart like a fountain. It seeped back slowly, a poison in my vein on the eve we were to wed. I knew that to take your hand, to walk this path, was to take a step I could not turn back. That perhaps the gods and their icons, if they ever lived, would not forgive. Yet I was steeped so much in sin and blood and cruelty already. I had taken so much, stolen so much, and continued with my existence. But I did not merely wish to simply exist any longer. You made me wish, for the first time since I have truly been alive, to live. And it shows here, so be careful. Perhaps you sense the hesitation, the feeble, the silent cry of my conscience. We don't have to. We can wait. If you're not ready. Why did his words only make me grow hungrier? I want this. I shut his soft, sweet lips with mine. That body that I wore when I spoke my vows to you was both living and unliving. A body that was not mine to live, to love with. That would kind of, you can kind of see a little newsy. But, that would suck. You're like a ghost and you're watching someone just be you. And you're like, no. Heartbreaking. They find love, which you can never do. Have a kid that you never did. Someone stole your life. It would suck. I wonder if I should go out. Okay. I'll probably just watch it. But the heart that beats like a butterfly's wing when you kissed me traced the crooked moon beneath my collar as you slipped free the laces from my wedding gown. It beat like my own. Beat like my own. What? The skin that lightened like the embers as you held me in your hands. Every inch of it felt like my own. I loved him too much to stop. I hungered more for his touch, the sweetest taste of iron on my tongue. Though the name he whispered into my ears was not mine, the tenderness which he spoke it belonged to only me. What did it matter what shape I wore, what form his fingers traced or gentle arms embraced? Your arms were made only to hold me. Your eyes were made only to behold me. Your heart should beat only if it loves me. There laying my head against his chest, lulled by the rhythm of his gentle heart, I thought of my body, my true body lying cold beneath the earth. I wish that I could feel this warmth, this fragrant thing that I had now in my hands. I would cling to it until the death again parted me from him. Until my unaging, undead form finally grew still. It would be love as fleeting as the red leaf fleeting through the autumn wind. Perhaps it was cruel of me to do so, but I could be no less callous than a fate or time. Humans hold memories for a lifetime. After all, yet they moved ever forward because they must. Because it is what it means to walk amongst the living. He would long live storied life, and I would be a brief but cherished memory in his heart. Just as I would hold him forever in my immortal, unbeaten one. Stop, be careful. Or so I had thought. Okay. That night, cradled in his arms, I see the face of a girl whose skin I wear in my dreams, melting away into blood and bones. 333 years ago. I smile now at the villagers when I walk through town. I no longer hum to myself as I spin wool into thread and the thread into cloth. I share my joy with the birds, the flowers, the lambs, him. Like fable Arcadia or fair Elysium, my tranquil day passes by in peace. Yet sorrow does not temper joy, it only makes it grow sweeter by contrast. And sorrow too passes. He loses his patience for the first time. A mother to be childbed fever. Soon one of her sickly newborn twins follow her. How it eats at him, my poor, sweet, gentle lamb. I console him that day as best as I can. I have seen so much death been the cause of it at times, but I do not know what words he needs. But I hold him tightly, and I let him hold me. Then at night I lull him to sleep, slip from our bed, and find the iron still sweet. Mother and son are buried together. Nobody noticed that their corpses are lighter. It still weighs on my beloved in the days that follow, the image of the unbreathing babe and the weeping one left behind. And so, against the last fraying strands of my better judgment, I tell him, let us take in that child as our own. Oh, I thought she had one too. Oh wait, no, she says she cannot because, yeah, never mind, sorry. I soothe the head of a small wooden doll, suturing the seam along its neck with a long red thread. It is a lamb. Its fleece is made of the softest wool I could spin. When I finished its head, I take a thick black thread and give it new eyes, adding tiny white stitches for a twinkle in each one. Finally, I take another red thread for its mouth, stitching it as a small, sweet smile. Every stitch must be perfect. It must be perfect. I work slowly and deliberately. I am careful, ever so careful, not to prick myself. I never enjoy the sight of iron escaping this flesh. So I yelped with surprise when I noticed him behind me. Barrett, why don't you make noise when you walk? Did I startle you? He asked sheepishly. Just as I'm about to settle back in my chair with my needlework, a loud wail comes from the bedroom. And now you've woken him. I rushed towards the wooden cradle in our chamber, lifted the crying infant into my arm, and rocked him gently, saying, "Oh, hush, my love, my little lamb, Mama is here." Holding him in my arms, I start to sing. Come to rest in my embrace, let the moon hold you safe. In her light and in her embrace, should the clouds shroud your way, or the mist hide her ashen face, I shall guide you home in her place. The babe is fast asleep before I finish the last verse of the song. I set him down with his blanket and sigh, closing my eyes for a moment. As I stand, my beloved rests his head onto my shoulder and holds me from behind. Nestled in his arm, I let him lead me back to the seat in front of the hearth. It feels so warm, and blissful to be cradled. Myself, my love plants a kiss on my red hair before he settles beside me. Forgive me, he whispered. I just want to watch you work. You are forgiven this time, but don't you dare sneak on a woman with a needle again. He laughed quietly. It sounds sweeter than a lyre's tune, a robin song. I shall not. I finished stitching the doll as we sit in each other's company. I thought I was deaf at stitching wounds, he whispered, but I have never seen anyone as skilled with a needle as you. One of my talents, one of my many talents, maybe perhaps you could learn a thing or two from me. Humble as always, my darling, he laughed softly. I wish I could bottle that sound and listen to it for eternity. Once I'm finally satisfied with my work, I check on the babe, holding the doll in my hand. He's sleeping, just sleeping soundly. You have a magic touch, my darling. He yet to fall asleep so quickly when I sing to him. I smile. That is not true, my love. Who would dare slumber when you sing? The baby boy before me is so warm and small. He must dream so gently as his small chest and falls, rises and falls. His cheeks are pink and round, his short curls soft as down. A happy coincidence that his hair is as red as mine. I almost forgotten what my own dark locks look like. I would miss this flame-colored hair, a silly thing to treasure, perhaps among many things more precious that I would lose, but I would always have a fondness for it now. As I watch him, the fullest in my heart unravels onto something cold, gnawing, and dark. I let myself forget for a moment and believe that he could truly be mine, mine to nurture and love, to care for and watch over as he grew. My chest twists like a spike has been driven into it. I know it is wicked as me leaving him a widower is cruel enough, but now a boy without a mother. At least they won't be alone without me, I think, as my beloved nuzzles my cheek, wraps his arms around me. I close my eyes, even if it's for the briefest moment, for the first time since. No, even before I drew my last breath, as my true self, I have a family. Just for this moment, they are mine and only mine. I rest in their warmth, my beloved's arms around my waist, my son sleeping softly before me for just a little while longer. Finally, reluctantly, I break free. Watch over him while I run to the market, I whisper, carefully smoothing over my little one's blanket. Are you sure? I don't mind. I need some fresh air. I slip outside, not towards the market square. An emptiness within me howls like an abyss, waiting to be fed. I am afraid I would devour both you and this child if I gave in to that hunger. 331 years ago. Oh wait. So the kid's like 2? He injures his back in a careless accident while I'm trying to repair an old fence. He did so against my protest. I just wanted to make certain nothing else gets to your darling lambs, he said. His words twist like a knife in my gut. How could I tell you the true beast that devoured them stands right in here before you? Her guilty eyes brimming with tears. As I help him wash that evening, he laughs and tries to reassure me, wincing sharply as he does. This is nothing to worry about, my love. I am simply getting old. Look at my white hair. Oh, stop. Just be careful, please. I look down out of shame and see our reflection stare back at me in the water basin. He only had turned 90 and 9 and 20. The same age once long ago my true body met its end. My beloved wears the skin age beautifully, the glow of youth still alive in his skin, tempered by his calm and graceful manner. But the face I wear looks not a day over 19. I have not changed as the years pass us by, and I will not change. The unkind whispers about me had never ceased completely. Some gossiped that I was a witch or a creature of the mist. That I cast a glamour over myself, fed my husband poison to capture his heart, that I cursed a woman with death to steal her bright-eyed babe for myself. Why would a man like him ever take her for a wife? They say if she was a fairy, she should have picked a prettier face to wear. Her eyes are like coal. How true! Aren't they dreadlessly lifeless? They were foolish and petty, but more right than they knew. Yet perhaps there was more than truth to their cruel words than I first thought. What if it was not death that would part me from him? What if he cast me aside? My beloved was like the sun, radiant, giving warmth to all he touched, ever so ready with a bright smile and kind word. Laughter and music were like breathing to him. It was hard to pull a smile or song from my mouth in contrast, but was that any fault of mine? If he smiled so easily, didn't that mean the ones he gave me were less precious, less meaningful, less special? Why should you smile for anyone but me? Why should you sing anyone but me? You're at the widow's house often, I say, seeing him pack his doctor's bag and head for the door. The collar of his shirt, the one that I mended for him, sits crooked around his neck. I straighten it for him, wondering briefly if my body would have the strength to struggle him if needed to. Her boy isn't doing well, he replies, his voice sounding so distant, mired with concern. Was he worried for a child or for her? My beloved had given a beautiful eulogy when her partner passed, and oh, how prettily she cried. She had a loveliness that not even her reddened eyes nor disheveled braids could lessen. Her hands, he hands her handkerchief, the one that I stitched for him painstakingly with the bell-shaped flower and the green leaves, the one that matched its hair and eyes. How could he, how could something I gave you be easily handed away? When I thought of her face, her glossy locks, her fair skin and bright eyes, who looked so lovely even as she wept, her lively young son clinging to her skirt, her healthy child who ran and laughed like the children should. I wanted to bleed the iron dry from them both. When I saw my plain face, stringy red locks, and the creek surface, when my son, still so small for his age, cried, fevered, or would not eat, I wanted to tear my own skin. Were you only concerned in a doctor's sense of duty, or was there something else? Whatever you mean, darling. I I didn't realize I spoke my thoughts out loud. I don't remember what I said or what I accused him of, what words I cried and screamed at him. Only the misery I felt, the growing anguish written on his face. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to feel what I did, to hurt like I did. It was because of him I felt this pain. It was him because it was because of him that I knew joy. It was because of him that I now suffered so much. In my heart suffered from the knowledge that I would have to lose him. I could not utter the word of it to him, for he was human and I was not. He was gloriously, joyfully alive, and I was only half living, one half of my heart above the ground and the other buried beneath the earth. He was alive and I was not, and the time would tear him away from me. I would be gone, and he would replace me with someone more beautiful, more devoted, a better mother, and a happier wife. And then I would wither away in his memory, and nothing that remained of my love for him would be left. I could not bear the thought of anyone else at his side, any other person on this earth receiving his brightest smile, his tenderest caress. I thought of his hand encased in the glove knitted by another, fingers entwined with another. He was mine. He belonged to me. Why couldn't he remain mine? Why did I have to let him go? Why did I have to go back to being alone? He could not offer the words to comfort me because he did not know the depths of my anguish, nor did seeing the pain mirrored in his expression bring me satisfaction. I should die, I think I told him. I should die. If you ever left me, I shall hurl myself off the cliff. That's when he held me so tightly I thought I would burst. I beg of you, don't speak such words to me. If you die, I shall follow. If I lose you, I lose everything I have. Whatever harm may befall me, I can endure, but to see you or our child hurt, my soul could not bear it. What a fool I'd become, I realized. Foolish and jealous and flawed almost, as if I were human. I was so tired. Then I should have apologized, but I simply collapsed on the floor and cried. Then I promised him I would not speak these words again. He kissed my brow and stroked my hair, and then he swore to me in turn, I love you so much, Nora. I'll always love you. No, never leave your side. Not until the day I die. Enough of that talk of dying today. I say, my throat dry. I'm made too late. Be on your way. He swept me back, kissed me until I'm out of breath before he does. Later that night, as I wait for his return, the sheep in their pen, our son dozing on my lap, supper growing cold in the pot, do I realize the gravity of what he said? If you die, I shall follow. If I lose you, I will lose everything I have. I didn't know whether to be happy or afraid. I knew I would soon have to die. I would have to leave this place. But did I have to leave him behind? Did you truly mean your words? His steps are so quiet I don't hear him come up the path until he swings the gate. I rush to meet him by the door. The devastation on his face stops me dead in my tracks. "330 years ago." The voice cough had turned into something much. That the kid's like 3, 4, into something much worse. Much worse. "Gabriel, please. We should leave too. You cannot save everyone here." "You should take our son and go, my love. I will write to my father's relatives. Not without you, never. I should be dead. I should die here. Not you. Please," I beg, falling to my knees before him. He lowers himself down to my height, holds me in his arms, and says in his voice ever so gentle, ever soothing, "This is my duty, my love. I cannot leave when there are people that I can save. Our child needs saving. He needs his father. He'll have you." "No, no, no, no. He won't." I wanted to scream. "He'll hate me. He'll never call me Mama again if he finds out what I am." "Why are you so willing to give your life for the sick and helpless? Why won't you live for me? You said you would never leave me. Nora, please. I love you, and our boy more than anything in this earth. But how could I be a man worthy to you if I ran away from the oath I swore to keep? You are a knight's son, through and through." I realized then that he's my everything, but I am not everything to him. I'm simply a girl whose heart you can break whenever you please. I should throw this body and see what you think then, how you regret your words once you lowered me into the grave. I thought suddenly my true face, my true self, lying in the earth. It felt so long ago, when she was I and I was she. I simply thought of her as myself any longer. Perhaps it did not matter whether he foolishly threw his life away. Perhaps there was another way. a way to keep him by my side forever. Damn death or time or fate. If you won't go, then I must stay too, darling. Remember what I swore to you in sickness and health until death parts us. This too is my duty. You are mine, always. I too am yours, no matter what happens. He closed his beautiful eyes. We can't let our child be orphaned again. He needs you. He needs his living parent to be full. We won't. No, I will not lose him either. Our son leaves with the wagon with the other children, stone-faced families, for province to the south. He is to be torn from my arms, my beloved hands, him with tears in his eyes, to a lovely young widow whose face I wanted to steal. How protectively she holds my little boy, how fiercely she swears to me to guard him. How brave and noble she looks, carrying another good child to safety as she mourns a family of her own. I should hate her even more. But my heart is too full of misery and helplessness for more bitter resentment. He is so small and frail. What will he do when he wakes in his arms of another stranger, with neither us by his side to hold him, to sing to him and soothe him? Will he remember me? Will he think I abandoned him? Will he hate me for it? As long as you survive, as long as you grow up healthy and hale, you can despise me all you wish. When you are grown, I will find you again, my love, my lamb. I did not birth you. I feasted on your kin. But I am and always be your mother. Late in the night, my beloved pores over the books, texts, treatises, search for anything at all that might offer us a cure. I stay by his side as the candles burn, tirelessly preparing remedies as to soothe the pain and herbs to mask out the rot, incense to cleanse out the powers of the bone charred, body burned. Gabriel, please, you'll be of help to no one if you collapse. He sways unsteadily. I try to pull his tall frame into his chair. He falls against it, pulls me with him onto his knees. There he holds me for a long, long time. You're always right, my love. I only. He rests his hand back on his feet, and within seconds is sound asleep. Unable to move him, I bring a blanket of heavy wool and cover him the best I can. I lay down alone in our bed that night. Why don't you lay with your hubby, your husband, on the floor? It always felt so narrow. But now it is impossibly vast and empty without him. The rot has crept up his arms. It eats at his right hand, covering his fingers in the dark, foul splotches. His face contorts with pain when I change his bandages. It is no good. It'd be better if I lose this arm than try to save it. My handwriting was hardly legible anyways. He tries to laugh through his gritted teeth. How can you smile at a time like this? We unearthed his father's sword from the chest beneath our bed. It is steel blade, still glistens. I had always wondered why he maintained it, this beautiful, deadly forge to kill. Perhaps he knew it would someday have its use. It didn't save him. His stumps began to rot as well, and soon the rest of his body followed. His vision goes first. His right eye becomes flimsy and swollen. He coughs, and he coughs, and he coughs, and he coughs. Iron and the phlegm escaping his pale lips. I have not had human blood in for so long. The healthy had fled, the sick tastes bitter ash. My body, at last, is fading along his. I knew I was playing a cruel game, but fate had to be crueler. Still, he was so full of life and kindness and love. His time could not end here. There was so much more he could do, so much he could give. There were reasons why I gave myself after a list of causes noble and benevolent. Yet in the present, in those awful dying moments, the only truth in my heart was I could not let him slip away from me. I could not bear to walk this world without him. I would hold on to you for eternity and never let you go. He lies unmoving on a straw mat, barely recognizable as human. Beneath his bandages, the incense burning in the room does little to match the stench of rot and dying flesh. Somehow he clings to life, the slowed, haggard sound of his grasp, the faintest movement of his rib cage, only proof he still breathes. His throat is too thick with phlegm, the blood, to do anything but gag on the water I offer him. Ah, my nose. His remaining eye, once bright as spring, stares out hazy and focused and unable to meet mine. But I know he can hear me, sense that I am by his side. I cradle his bandaged face, sing softly to him as I hold what's left of his remaining hand and wait for the last breath to leave his lips. Only then do I leave his side and walk with little strength remaining in my buried bones to a place deep in the woods where I buried myself. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. So thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go. And I'm glad things are working. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. I will upload this soon on my YouTube. So join my Discord if you want to join it. Exclamation point DISCORD. And you will get a link to my Discord, not my description, what? Either or. Join the Discord. And thank you guys for watching. Happy Halloween. Be safe and all that. I love you guys. Bye.